the answer to the question is the black masses don't have anything to lose except their chains. But the person that are standing in the gap, the ones we're talking about that are the gatekeepers.
They lose power.
And I'm not just talking about blacks either. I'm talking about the Democratic Party, and our political leaders are all in the Democratic Party, so they have a lot to lose. And therefore, when I mention gatekeepers, I'm not just talking about blacks. I'm talking about this whole apparatus that keep the black community confused on one hand for their political, for the empowerment that they get from blacks. For example, the 5%, maybe 10% of blacks who move out of the Democratic Party, they're over for them nationally.
Correct.
Our vote is 90-some-odd% plus Democrat. Without that monolithic vote we have on the national level, the Democratic Party understands what the states are.
And see, and that's what I mean about the Caucasian white gatekeepers that are in cahoots with the failed black gatekeepers to keep this voting bloc and minorities down. And we said it before the show, this one-party democratic system for the black community has failed us. And I'll argue and challenge anybody to show me results from it. I'm talking about, I've seen generational hardship of what big government does to a family. I've seen it on all fronts.
Right.
Go ahead.
One of the things that struck me in this conversation was that how you were mentioning how black politicians who don't go with the democratic flow really have written themselves out of the political process, because and that's one of the things that I think we have to do it anyway, because it's sort of like, okay, you can't win necessarily being a conservative. You can't, because people put a label on you and they say you're Republican and they write you off, or you're this and they write you off, and you're
which is a part of their scheme to
you're
marginalize us.
Right, and I think that's part of it. And at the same time, I think that conservatives have to stand. It's not about getting power. It's about standing up for what's true. Standing up for the truth. And that's why I applaud people who are standing up in a conservative way, understanding that it's not popular. This is not going to win you votes. It's not popular, and basically the white power structure and white conservatives are not necessarily all that engaging with you either. They're not endeared with black conservatives either. So that's been my experience, that there's been a marginal amount of white conservatives who will support black conservatives. Yeah. And so it's a tough situation to deal with, but we still, I think the principle has to be stand up for truth and righteousness no matter what the consequences. And my feeling is, if God is for you, he's more than the world is against you. So I'm not going to back down from what I know to be the right thing to do, the truth, and not try to represent the truth. I'm not going to do that.
And you hit the nail on the head, because when you actually look at the establishment and what they're willing to not put into the inner cities to win them, understand Donald Trump's wave was not an establishment Republican movement. It hasn't, and it's still not. Right. So what you got to understand, and being a former ethnic vice chair of the Michigan Republican Party, I know what they put into budgets and I know what they don't, and in which they want to keep that very secret, by the way, because they don't want to show you how they'll go find candidates and they'll say, well, you can run for this and we'll reimburse you, but basically you got to pay out of your pocket. Now, we all know that's not how politics really work. Big business owners, other individuals, the grassroots must support you to have a winning campaign. What they're saying, we'll just put somebody that's in this spot, but that's not the winning strategy for truth, for engagement, for real genuine progress. You can't win like that. You have to be willing to put some money and put some money where your mouth is. And so one of the things that I had made a proposal, and I still have it, and it's I call it the Urban Initiative, which Governor Snyder took my coin and gave it to a very good representative that's on the Democratic side, but he's a good guy, Santana, Representative Santana out of Southwest Detroit, where my wife is from. And so what you got to understand, this Urban Initiative, if we don't show people and role model our principles, like, we have to show people really why choosing life is the best thing, because we know the regret, the pain is all over young women that I've seen and met, and fathers too, who's had their children murdered, who's had their children aborted, and they know psychologically you're not the same. My whole family has been impacted by this because I've had so many of my younger cousins and family members, young, who's had abortions. But yet we're not putting money into having more effective pregnancy agencies like Mr. Latuus Penn, who him and his wife has a pregnancy center. And